Tall Paul Joseph, Jack Silver, the Producers Podcast. And I know
Yes,
we
sir.
haven't had many guests on the show, Paul,
No, we have not.
because between you and me, it's hard to get a word in edgewise. Let's face it.
That's right.
But today
See how it goes today.
I have booked a guest.
Oh,
He'll be joining us shortly,
okay.
and I think you'll like it.
Any hints?
I grew up with him,
Okay.
went to high school with him,
All right.
and now he's written a cool book.
Is he your brother?
He's my brother from another mother.
Okay.
Would be the
All
best
right.
way to say it. So yeah.
Okay.
So we'll
Gotcha.
bring him on shortly, but I wanted to start with one thing real quick.
Yeah.
Do you know what a hero looks like, Paul?
A hero?
A hero.
Yes.
A hero looks like this. You know, there's been some fires in the area that I live in,
Right.
and these guys in these helicopters are bona fide heroes.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're flying those helicopters in, and we might hear them during the course of this thing because they've been flying for 4 days straight.
Yeah.
But you got to believe a guy who can, fly a helicopter like that, come into a reservoir, scoop up a bunch of water, go back up right over the house. I mean, the house shakes like
Oh, yeah.
the helicopter is flying so low,
Yeah.
and head to the fire, drop their water, and then keep coming back as one giant,
Circle.
like a circle, like
Yeah.
a conveyor belt.
No, I've seen it a million times here in my area too. And it's like they just keep going to the ocean, but they also use the planes. I don't know if they're using them there. They have these big planes that just they cruise across the ocean, scoop up all this water, and they go right back up like 3 at a time. And
Yeah.
they dump, come back.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting story there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the area that I don't know if you can hear that.
Yep. I can hear it.
Yeah. So they'll be coming over quite regularly, but the area is very rough terrain.
Yeah.
Plus, it's been gray and misty and a little wet in the mornings. So
Right.
the cloud cover is too low for those
Yeah.
big planes you're talking about. Now, yesterday, they finally got the cloud cover to be above 4,000 feet.
Huh.
And next thing you know, they broke out those big bad boys.
Oh,
And they bring the pink fire retardant. I don't know why they make it pink.
Fostex. Just
Is
so
that what it's
that, you know why? Because that way the pilot can see where he's landing it so he knows next time. So the kind of demarcation so they know what's going on.
Now, how come I wouldn't understand or just put two and two together? The reason it's pink is because you can see it from.
Right. Same reason you're locked in your house for the last, how long?
I mean, now with the 4 day, you mean, or
No, longer.
Oh, you mean the whole pandemic? No, long story longer, I haven't gotten out of house in quite some time because every time I go out,
Yeah.
all you hear is, I don't know if you can hear that, but
I heard it earlier. I can't hear it right now.
yeah. But luckily, as we're recording this,
Yeah.
it seems like the fire is coming out, getting under control.
Yeah.
And with that Fostec and with those heroes,
Yes.
I think we're going to be okay. And that's what you get when you live in Southern California. Now, you know, Paul, either it's wildfires,
Yep.
earthquakes,
Yeah.
social unrest,
Yeah.
whatever else you can ask for.
That's right. Yep. It looks like your guest is arriving.
I hope we've got some video of our guest.
Yes. CPFR Junior.
There he is. All
There he
right.
is.
Now you're talking. What's up, Cleo?
Yeah, what's going on, Jack? How you guys doing?
I'm doing
Good.
good. Well, first of
Good,
all,
good.
Cleo,
Good
I
to
want to
meet you.
introduce.
Any friend of Jack's is usually not a friend of mine, but in your case, Cleo, I'm very happy to meet you.
Well, it's
Yeah.
a pleasure to meet you as well. And I, you know what, sometimes one must be suspicious of who one surrounds himself, but not with Jack.
Well, I want to
That's
introduce.
wrong.
Well, Cleo, this is Paul Joseph, Tall Paul
Yes.
Joseph, a friend of mine.
Pleasure.
We met in the late '80s, working at Kiss FM. We're both radio producers, television producers, etc. And this podcast, if you will, is called the Producers Podcast because we figured there's about 1,300,000 podcasts being done a week.
Yep.
Right.
Throw us right over the top, and we'll show you how it's done.
There you go. There
Well,
you
you know
go.
what? I'm looking forward to a master class in podcasting. And
Well,
so,
you've come to
anyway.
the wrong place, but and I certainly hope
you still have time to leave, Cleo, before we get started.
Right.
You know what, Paul? One thing that I do preach that one must have an exit strategy, and believe me, I do.
I noticed you're very close to the door, by the way.
That's right there.
Well, Paul, Cleo is a long-time friend of mine. We went to high school together in Chicago.
Yes.
And over the years, he's done some amazing things, worked in agriculture with John Deere and a variety of other major companies, has a master's degree in business, has written a couple of books. We're going to get to his new book in just a second, which is called Lessons from Our Mothers and Fathers.
Yeah, but back up just for a moment. I want to hear all about that. But first of all, Cleo, you're holding valuable information. So let's not hold back on the real truth here about what a young Jack Silver trying to meet girls and trying to, show off his basketball skills and the whole thing looked like and acted like back in school. Can you fill us in?
Paul, you don't mind going all in, do you?
No, I jump right in.
No. No warming up in the bullpen with this guy.
No.
I was going to say, I like that question, Paul. This is what I will say. Jack, as he said earlier, we went to high school at Von Steuben, played basketball together, and I do have to caveat, our school was on Kimball Avenue, and what happens on Kimball Avenue stays on Kimball Avenue.
Okay.
All right. Well, I like that.
But I will say this though, Jack was very popular, very personable. He was gregarious, energetic. I was too damn serious in high school, and I used to admire Jack's how can I say, ability to bring levity to every situation. So he was the guy. But again, beyond that, whatever happened on Kimball stays on Kimball Avenue.
Wow. So no locker room talk or anything from you, Cleo.
Well, we'll get to that in just a second, Paul, but hold your horses for a second. First of all, everyone, this is Cleo Franklin.
Yes.
And he is a very talented and a successful businessman. And he's joining us to talk about his new book. But here, I want to throw something at Cleo right now, which I think will help get the ball rolling. This is something, I don't know if you've seen this picture, Cleo, in a while or ever.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
You know what? That picture is just absolutely amazing. First of all, this is the team that should have won City back in 1976, and we made it to the quarterfinals. But these are four people, man, that quite frankly, great guys. Willie Williams, number 21.
Right.
Austin neighborhood, Nathaniel Mud Wilkerson.
Right. Because everyone had nicknames, Paul. Everyone had nicknames. So
Mud?
Willie was sweet.
Henry Soto. Yeah. And as they would say in the Parliament days, I'm not going to. But always funky.
Is that Jack the Mustache Silver?
Right. On the right side.
Mustache.
Yeah.
That was me.
It looks like you guys weren't well fed. What happened? Weren't they feeding you at this?
We were very thin back then, Paul.
Yeah.
But I wish I had a good shot of Cleo. I know somewhere I have the yearbooks, and because Cleo was a star. When he says we played basketball together, he's really being way too kind. He played a lot of basketball. I rode the pines quite a bit. I was what you call a good practice player.
Okay.
I gave I was pretty hyper as a young guy. And would dive on the floor for loose balls.
That's right.
But watching Cleo and Willie and Nate and Waldo, God rest his soul, and all the guys on the team, Anthony Rogers and everybody, it was a great way to grow up and learn basketball. And by the way, Cleo, Paul's son played high school basketball here in LA, and to this day, don't you guys, Paul, still go out and shoot hoops?
Oh yeah, well he's playing college ball now too.
Oh no,
good.
He starts in the fall.
Where's he playing?
He's playing at Moore Park, and then he's going to transfer to another university. So he's playing at Moore Park starting this fall.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Fantastic.
And Paul, Cleo was a big scorer, could always be counted on for that, and then went on to play college ball in Iowa, I believe.
Yeah.
Actually led his team. I think you hold some records at your school, right?
Yeah. I went to. I was recruited by the University of Iowa, and it was either go there in redshirt because we were all 6'2", 6'3", and there was no place for a 6'3" center. And
right.
Right. They said you can go to the junior college, Muscatine Community College. So I went there and got their all-time leading scorer, and then again got recruited again at Morningside University, where when I left, I was number 8 all-time leading scorer. Made everything preseason All-American, in the Hall of Fame, etc.
That's great.
Long time ago. Long time.
Well, that was happening, Cleo. I was at Bradley University playing intramural basketball, trying that and smoking weed and whatever else I was doing back then.
Growing mustaches, everything.
Right, I had the porno mustache.
You really did. You painted it on.
But over time, things have happened. At least we still got the hair, Paul. We always talk about that.
That's right. You still got, yeah.
It's gotten a little gray, Cleo. I apologize.
No, but you know what? You kept it, and God bless you, because back in the day, believe it or not, it was a fro, but no, the fro is gone.
You can't get a fro going. If you tried right now, nothing would come out of it. Nothing.
Oh, I could probably do the. I don't know if you ever watched Shaquille O'Neal, who did the. He let his hair grow back, and they showed one session. The problem was it grew back, but it was growing back. He said, "Did you say is it going back, or are you growing it back?" Yeah. So that being said, it's good that I just keep the the nice. No,
that's a good look. Yeah. That's a good look, Cleo.
Pull it off.
I like it. Just one more question about basketball before we get to your book, because I really want to hear about that. But did the young Jack Silver ever score a basket for the team?
Oh yeah.
Oh, he did.
Oh yeah. You listen. You see no hesitation in my voice.
No, you jumped right, almost like you were paid to say that.
Well, you know what? The cash continues to flow.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Jack played, and we played in the Red North Division. In Chicago, there's two divisions: the blue and the North, and blue was underneath the North. But we played during I would say a heck of a time. A lot of competition, and believe me, on our team, if you were going to get in, you had to score, because we had this great motion offense that Jeff Wolf put in. Coach Wolf was out,
and we like to run, get the ball in the middle and run.
That's right. Believe me, we ran. We were what? I think our good friend Sweet Lou Russ Bradberg, who wrote the book on 40 Minutes of Hell, of course. So with our Hall of Fame coach, we really also emulated 40 Minutes of Hell, because we pressed, we ran, and that's why we looked so svelte, because we were maybe not the tallest team.
That's it.
We were very well conditioned team.
Yeah, you looked hungry.
We were hungry.
You looked hungry. But I'm going to leave it with this, because yesterday, as it turned out, for whatever reason, on my screen on the right-hand side popped up the last 3 minutes of Kobe's career. Not that I'm trying to put you guys all in the same basket, but at the same time, I watched that 3 minutes, which we watched his game. It's when he scored 60 points.
Yeah.
It actually brought me to tears, because I have never seen a guy. I watched it a different way, because he's passed now. Right. And the way that guy dug down, first of all, got the win for the Lakers. But secondly, the last 3 minutes, he was so out of breath and so tired, he kept going. I've never seen anything like it. I'm saying to everybody right now, go watch those last 3 minutes of Kobe's game for inspiration in whatever you do in life, because it really is amazing. Just like you wrote this great book, another great book. I don't know where you get your inspiration from, but I need to get my inspiration from people like Kobe. I watch them and I go, if this guy can do that, at least I can do what I do. I mean, it's amazing.
And before we get to your book, Cleo, in just a second, I just want to, speaking of the Producers Podcast, Paul almost broke a big a rule there, where the pre-show conversation that we had, we were supposed to have, would have been, don't bring up the scoring. Don't. Right. Yeah, because Cleo was averaging maybe 15, 20 points a game. I had 2, 4, 6. Had a couple of nice games. So what you're supposed to do, the answer is no surprises. That's the rules of a podcast. Don't get the co-host all freaked out when you start talking about scoring. But anyway, we loved our time at playing ball in Chicago.
Yeah.
And we still stay in touch with a lot of our friends.
That's
and
great.
Those bonds that were made were great. Which brings us to lessons from our mothers and fathers.
Yeah.
And that's your new book, Cleo. And the reason that I thought Paul would like it, and I want you to just dive right in, but Paul is very close with his parents. My mom and dad have both passed now. I think your mom, Cleo, just passed recently.
Yes.
And
sorry.
It's really it's a great book, because it's a compilation, correct me if I'm wrong, of a bunch of different authors that have put together their thoughts on their moms and dads. Why don't you give us a breakdown on why you wrote it and what you think about it when it's released this month?
Absolutely. The Toni Morrison, the great author, she talks about, if there is a book that you want to read but have not hasn't been written yet, then you yourself must write it. And so I think that's good sage advice, and so noted and taken. The only difference is that I wrote this book in collaboration with a lot of my colleagues and friends, and the inspiration of the book is I would say a celebration of generational wisdom that, quite frankly, exists in every family. And those families are the stories that have been told from grandfathers, grandmothers, of course, but most importantly, the current day parents, our moms and dads, and even surrogate parents that really kind of shaped and fueled our lives. And I wanted to, it happened within me. I was very blessed to have those stories. And a lot of those stories are in my first book, Coffee with Cleo, because, when you talked about getting inspiration, I think inspiration is all around us. It's just a matter of if we're in tune to it. And I've been kind of lucky to be in tune to the lessons passed down from my mothers and fathers. My mother and father. But that being said, I thought this second book, it has approximately, including the forward and dedication, maybe 22, 23 stories from 17 different leaders, very diverse, all accomplished, credentialed folks. There's authors that have written in the book, as we talked about. Sweet Lou Russ Bradford, he's an author. We have CEOs, PhDs, but all humble and all that really give you a peek into those inspirational moments that kind of, those inflection points that shape their lives. And so that's what the book is about. And it really gets into, I would say, the gems that people really hold dear to themselves. And it's just a way that I felt, it'd be nice if I could write a book that would give you a picture into all of these different windows and told from a diverse point of view that would really, people would be able to pick up and enjoy, that celebrates, again, the lessons learned and the great wisdom that's priceless from our mothers and fathers.
Well, wait, one thing real fast, call Paul Joseph, my partner. Have you noticed Cleo Franklin, top scorer, master's degree, big agricultural tycoon, writes 2 books. What happened to me, Paul? Jack Silver. I stumbled backwards into radio.
It's funny you're saying that, because the man is good looking, articulate, he's smart, he's got degrees on his wall, and he's got a door to exit out of this interview. All that, and he hangs out with you. I just doesn't.
Unbelievable. Well, this
go together.
Well, this is what happens in life. Here's 2 guys, and we're going like this, and then he shoots like a rocket, and I kind of sputter like a bad 4th of July firework.
Exactly.
But Cleo, I like one of the chapters in your book that you wrote. Do you want to be a man or a boy? And that was something that your dad talked about, correct?
Yeah, it is.
Tell us that, and that's a hell of a story.
Well, that story in itself is my dad passed in 2015, May 19th, and rest in heaven, Big Frank, as they would say. I'm named after him. But that story was told to me on several occasions, and I captured it probably when I was about 14 or 15 years of age. And my great grandfather, who lived in Keaton Township, Casco, Arkansas. My father grew up in rural America on a farm, and his grandfather would take him to the side, and from an early age, he would always test him with this one question, and he would say, Peter, and that was his nickname that they would call him down, and of course, and back home in Casco. He would ask him just this question: do you want to be a man or do you want to be a boy? And my dad, who my grandfather was very well respected in the community, he would stiffen up, and pay attention, because he knew he had the answer straight. And he would always tell my grandfather, yes, Papa, I want to be a man. And you know what? My grandfather would say, no, you don't. My great grandfather, that is, he would say, no, you don't. You want to be a boy. And he would always extol and talk to him about the differences between what it is to be a man and what it is to be a boy. And there's a chasm between. And you may be a man, look like a man, but you're still a boy in a body at that scene. You know, at the time when I was about 15 years old, about 6'2", thinking I was a man, but I was still a boy and thought like a boy and acted like a boy. But that being said, the story really just captures the moment where it really changed my life. And as many times as my dad told me this story, I wasn't about listening to this. I didn't want to hear it. But that moment, as I talk about in the book, really rang true to me, and it stayed with me for the rest of my life. And I understand what my great grandfather was trying to do. He had no time to mess around coddling boys. He was in the business of raising men. And that being said, I'm thankful that he passed that down to my dad, who passed it over to me. And as the book talks about, it's a moment in time that is, I would say, impactful. And those young youths, in our youthful indiscretion, or when we think that we know more than what we did back then, it was kind of one of those things where, you get chiseled down to size. Or I would say it was a good humbling session.
Sure.
But anyway, Jack, I appreciate you.
No, that was a great chapter. I really enjoyed it. Now, Paul, your dad was a bigger than life type of guy, right? Car dealer and stuff. What sort of inspirations or what sort of words of wisdom he shared with you during your life?
Well, I always used to say, my dad used to say, in groups of people, he'd say to me, it's not important, son, that you're my son. He said, what's important is that nobody finds out that you're my son.
Oh, see, Cleo, Paul's kind of a comedy writer as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I took it like, wasn't that okay to say? I don't know.
No, that's fine.
But seriously, no, my dad was one of those guys that, he was all about just building you up to be the best you could be in whatever you wanted to be, and the thing about my dad I loved, he owned car dealerships, and he never pushed me. I never wanted to do that. And he never pushed me to do that. He never one time said, son, come work for me where it's easy. And, and just move up the chain or whatever. Never. My sister ended up doing that. But for me, I never had a taste for it. I wanted to do entertainment, and I never went that way. And he never, ever pushed me. And for that, I was most thankful. Because the pressures you can get from your parents to do things. Especially when they're in that business and can really help you.
Right.
Like, I never got that from him. So that's, for me, that was one great lesson, because it taught me how to act with my own son and not to try to push him into something that he may not want to do,
Well, that's a great point about passing it down to your kids.
Yes.
He's Cleo Franklin. He wrote the book called Lessons from Our Mothers and Fathers.
Yes.
Paul Joseph, Jack Silver, Cleo Franklin. We got a few more minutes, Cleo. So let's talk now about how great your mom was, and maybe a lesson that your mom taught you, a good snippet of that. What do you got from your mom?
Absolutely. In just a second, I just want to touch on your dad, Paul. There was another saying. My dad, he had these isms, and of course, growing up in the Depression era, he was born in 1929. But one of the things there's a story about it in the book. He shared something to me that hit me like a lightning bolt when he said, you know what, you may be my dependent, but I'd be damned if you will be dependent.
I love that.
That's awesome.
So there's a whole story around there. But my mother, born in the Boot Hill of Missouri, as they would say, Wardell, Hayti area, she was a awesome woman. She passed, of course, in January of this year, just about 3 weeks shy of her 92nd birthday. But 4 master's degrees. Jack raised 9 kids.
Is that all?
Oh, that's all. And you know what? Was about 60% through on her PhD. I mean, she's a ordained minister, just a model of purpose. And a couple of things that she was one that refused to be categorized or refused to be defined by someone from outside trying to tell her who she was or couldn't be. She was fearless and always defiant, but again, a humble woman. And one of the things she would always share, and this is in the chapter in Coffee with Cleo, she would say, swallow your pride is non-fattening.
Yeah.
And so, you know, hubris gets in the way. And by the way, that chapter I wrote about, Jack, that's when I scored about 65 points against the Indiana Pacers Pro League back in the late 80s against Vern Fleming and Wayman Tinsdale. But
You did?
there was a moral to that story, but
Oh, okay.
she is a very purpose-driven person.
Yeah.
The epitome of no wasted motion. But I owe a lot to my mother, a great role model and vision of strength, and so many stories and so many things that she's done to inspire me.
Well, that's amazing. Lessons from our mothers and fathers. So what's the best way we can buy the book? You know, right now everything's Amazon pretty much, right? You don't, the days of going to the bookstore and leafing through it.
Yeah.
So what's the best way that the fans can check your book out, Cleo?
Absolutely. What you can do, you can go to www.coffeewithcleo.com. That's coffeewithcleo.com, all lowercase, and pre-order the book on my website. And by the 1st of June, the book will be available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, any retailer, and accessible to anyone that's looking to, how can I say it, you know, just acquire those lessons learned from those before us, you know, to help those that are here and kind of inspire those yet to come.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's
So by the way, if any of our old friends from Chicago, Von Steuben High School, or all your friends are watching the podcast, we'll post this. Make sure you guys go out and support Cleo.
Yep.
And Tall Paul, you got any last questions for like an actual superstar type, overachiever, type A personality, unlike me?
No, I mean, I wish I had a door to run out of, because I mean, you're intimidating. I love it, Cleo. It's just so great to meet you. You're inspiring, and you're so smart and thoughtful. And what you talked about with your parents is something that I think we all have in our hearts for our parents, whether we say it openly or not. I think this is a great way to show it, which you did, and for others, just to take a look at it and see how that relates to their own parents.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, Paul. I think it's, you know, in the book, you know, people will either talk about both parents, a story from both parents, or a parent or a surrogate parent. But there's one quote I want to just leave you with that really is the essence of the book in my mind.
Yeah.
And from Dikembe Mutombo, and he talks about God put us here to prepare this place for the next generation. That's our job.
Yeah.
Raising children, helping the community, that's preparing for the next generation. And you can't take it with you. Those priceless lessons, you know, as he said, I've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse.
That's right.
You know what? It's in the tombs, of course, in Egypt, they're all robbed. Well, you know, there's no robbing from the Franklin family. We're passing in all the virtues and lessons that we possibly can to everybody that has been passed down from those we love, our mothers and our fathers.
Oh man, great words, and you said it 100%. Thank you so much for coming on with us. And I again apologize for Jack. And
Paul, I got to cop to it. This is the best friend I could bring on because he's one of the only successful people that I know.
and he's tight-lipped. He won't tell the truth about you.
We talked about that in the pre-show meeting, Paul. Remember, that's very important. If you're doing a podcast, no surprises and zip the lip on the stuff that was happening behind the high school back in the day.
There's no leaky faucets over at Cosby Corner.
I appreciate it. All right, Cleo Franklin, new book is called Lessons from Our Mothers and Fathers. We're going to get it, and we'll talk to you soon, bro. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Jack. Talk to you guys. All the best, man.
Bless you, buddy.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man. How about that, Paul?
That was great.
Right?
Yeah, that was great.
Think about it. The only guests we've had on the show, Commander Chuck Street, Haley Joe twice, and Cleo Franklin, a big author.
A big author.
That's what you got to do. You got to raise the bar, big boy. You got to.
I like it. But no, this is surprisingly out of character for you, Jack. I like this guy. I mean, it really is out of character.
Most of my friends are not very like
you drag on. I mean, but Cleo, top class, top shelf, great guy. I really liked him.
What are the odds? Well,
yeah, I mean, I guess if you do it long enough, you're going to hit one.
Attaboy. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for spending some time with us. So we'll be back with another edition of the Producers Podcast. He's Tall Paul Joseph. I'm Jack Silver. Yeah, remember, Lessons from Your Mothers and Fathers.
Yes.
Go get the book.
Get it.
Peace out, brother. Thanks, Paul.